Welcome to Biggest Spoilars, the destination for exclusive spoilers, latest updates.
Chris McKenna revealed for the first time intimately that he was diagnosed with bipolar complaint on a memorable occasion of his castmate, Maurice Benard's internal health YouTube series, State of Mind, that dropped on Sunday, December 21st. During their sit-down discussion and as preliminarily reported, McKenna participated that he'd his first major depression as a teenager. Still, when COVID hit, he'd a major psychotic occasion which needed hospitalization, and that's when Chris explained he was duly diagnosed, which in turn got him on the drug lithium, where he added, "That's where I'm moment." In addition, Maurice bandied with Chris the behind-the-scenes story of how McKenna landed the part of Jack Brennan, after the first Brennan, Charles Measure, made the decision to exit the series. Measure's last airdate as Brennan was on January 30th of this time. McKenna stepped in beginning on the February 4th occasion of the ABC day drama series. Charles Measure decided to exit the part of Brennan. "We wish him all the stylish in his unborn trials." General Hospital looks forward to continuing Brennan's instigative plot with Chris McKenna in the part. Day suckers knew of McKenna's work stylish from his places as a teenage Joey Buchanan on One Life to Live and latterly as Mark Harding on The Young and the Restless. How Chris came Jack Brennan now. Maurice participated his edge point on what went down. "Let me first say, there was another actor in the part that Chris came in for, and I'll just say this, he was good, but if you don't want to be there, get out, and that's kind of the whole situation. He got out, and I'm not saying this is with him, but occasionally when you get out, notoriety comes by and the followership loves them, and also you're really in trouble, because a lot of times, the followership hates the coming person." Chris added, "Especially the way I came in, which was just after the first kiss." Benard explained, "And he was liked, but you came by and now they automatically love you." Next, Benard asked McKenna how he landed the part of Brennan. "I did YNR 10 times agone. I was on there for a time and a half recreating. So, that was the other time I had been on day. It was One Life to Live and also The Young and the Restless, and now, 10 times latterly, this came on," recounts McKenna. "I had told this story formerly ahead, but I had gotten calls from GH over the times, over the once decade, each time asking me, would you be interested in returning today? And if so, would you like to read with Laura Wright? Each time I said, I'd love to, and I'd love to read with Laura Wright. They said, okay. Hold on. Hang tight, we'll call you back. No call. Okay, fine. Couple times go by, it's, hey, GH just called. They want to know, would you be interested in returning today, and would you want to read with Laura Wright? I said, yes, sure, also, that does ain't be. So, I allowed. Frank Valentini, who I knew from One Life to Live back in the day, just does ain't want to see me. I'm thinking, he presumably thinks I'm still 14 and can't picture it. Also, they called me again. This is just a time ago, and said, would you like to come back today and read with Laura Wright? So, I said, yes, I would, but I said, this ain't going to be, to my director. I said, why do they keep calling me? They're not going to do it, or they would have formally eventually auditioning with Laura right now. It's January of this time, and me and woman. Just had a baby, and I'm nesting, I've gained weight. I'm not ready to go because I'm in baby mode. I get a call and the megacity isn't opened up yet after New Year's. And they go, do you want to come into GH and read with Laura Wright? I tell my director, why do they bother me? They're not going let me come read. He's like, I know you're right. I wouldn't indeed bother you with it. The coming time they call, he calls me back like 2 hours latterly and goes, commodity must have happed. They really want you there on Tuesday to read with Laura Wright in front of Frank and a bunch of people. Chris continues, so after distrusting it would be, they really shoot me a script and I allowed. Well, I know what to do with this. Also, when it was time for the investigation, there was a room full of guys who look like me, middle-aged and some good actors. Laura was at the end of the hallway, she saw me and gave me a clinch in front of everyone, one differently, which I'm sure didn't sit well with them, but I knew Laura from when she was on Loving. I hadn't seen her in 32 times. We used to play in the same Make-A-Wish softball game where she was the ewer and I was the catcher. She made me so nervous back then, however, that latterly in my life I would be doing love scenes with Laura Wright. I would have been like, that's all I've to do in life, if you had told me when I was 14. Also, I went in to read and some of the pens knew me from One Life to Live, which I didn't know were going to be there. I said, "Doen't suppose of me as the spindly 14-time-old sprat now." I did the scene and it went veritably well. Laura turned to MK Weir and Frank, and by the time I got home, there was talk about whether or not I was going to do an accentuation or not, but they decided just, you be you. Being cast as WSB Port Charles office chief, Jack Brennan has meant the world to Chris. I'm so happy on this set and so much happier now than I ever would have been at any other time. I turned down a contract on Y&R, and this couldn't have been more perfect. It's exactly what I want. Exactly the part one want and the people I'm working with, and it's just been inconceivable. You can watch Chris and his veritably particular talk on internal illness and further with Maurice Benard below. So, what do you suppose of the twisty road Chris had to landing an investigation to read contrary Laura Wright on General Hospital? Glad that Chris has taken on the part of Brennan after Charles. Measure made the decision to step down from the part before in the time. Partake your studies via the comment section below. General Hospital recap for Wednesday, December 24th, reveals that Carly Spencer reunited Charlotte Cassadine and Valentine Cassadine while Cody Bell transferred out an SOS. Britt Westbourne also got some amazing news, so then's how Wednesday's occasion played out. At Sonny Corinthos' place, he was glad Giovanni Gio Palmieri came over for the vacation fests and expressed gratefulness over chancing out Gio was his grandson. Effects were still tense between Rocco Falconeri and Dante Falconeri, but Gio prompted Rocco to perhaps cut his pater a break. Sonny also gave Dante some advice about making sure Rocco knew he was there for him. At Carly's house, Donna Corinthos went searching for Christmas strip in the garret. Valentine hid out of sight, but Donna noticed the tree he'd been decorating and allowed. Santa had left it there. Donnie rushed downward to tell Carly about the garret Christmas tree, so Jack Brennan set up out too since he was in the kitchen. Carly scolded Donna since she wasn't supposed to go into the garret, but Donna dropped the whole thing. Formerly Christina Corinthos Davis arrived with strip as requested. Brennan didn't fail to pick up on any signs of trouble since he left and made a phone call about pulling the detector on Britt. At GH, Britt and Lucas Jones agreed to a ceasefire for Christmas. After Liesel Albrecht transferred a snap with Nathan West from the Scorpio vacation gathering, Lucas suggested it was good that her mama was allowing of her. Britt ultimately got updates on her medical license being reinstated, so she was thrilled as she told Lucas and Elizabeth Baldwin. After Britt texted Murmur about her medical license reinstatement, Brennan glared at her in the distance. Back with Carly, she spoke to Valentine in the garret and assured him that Donna wouldn't come over there again. Valentine was pouty about spending Christmas without Charlotte, so it dragged at Carly's heartstrings a bit. Once Christina and Donna joined the gathering at Sonny's place, Donna mentioned the idea of Gio playing his violin. Gio admitted he didn't have a new one yet, but Donna suggested he might get one for Christmas. After Carly's appearance, Sonny told her that he'd gone in together with Ned Quartermain on a new violin for Gio, but they were staying until he showed signs that he was ready to admit it. Over with Charlotte, she gave Rocco a nudge toward doctoring effects up with Dante. Charlotte also discreetly pulled the key from Valentine out of her fund and had a sad expression as she peered at it. Carly noticed, so she pretended she forgot a geniture set at home and asked for Charlotte's help reacquiring it. Soon later, Carly took Charlotte up to her garret, where she had an emotional reunion with Valentine. At Maxie Jones' house, Max Scorpio and Felicia Scorpio hosted a vacation gathering. Nathan, Liesel, James West, Nina Reeves, Harrison Chase, Brooklyn Quartermain, Cody Bell and Emma Scorpio Drake were each there. Gio also joined the fun after belting effects up at Sonny's house. That gave Emma a chance to give Gio a didgeridoo for Christmas, an expedience that it'd get him back into music. Emma wished Anna Devane would have called, but she at least got a print of Anna in a ski outfit that she assumed was from her grandmother. Since Anna was missing the leaves, Emma guessed her WSB charge must be important. Since James had his heart set on getting a new D-file for Christmas, Cody kept a close eye on the package's shipping progress online. It was firstly supposed to arrive by night, but also it got delayed at the distribution center. Cody put his fleece on and was going to recoup it himself, but also James bothered about not visiting Maxie for Christmas. As Cody and Nathan worked to assure James, it came egregious that Cody's presence was demanded. Cody transferred an SOS to Molly rather, so she drove to the distribution center to get the D-file and helped him forestall a James-related extremity. Since Portia Robinson was suspended following her courtroom concession, she packed up the stuff in her office and didn't have high expedience about her future at GH. Liz gave Portia a vim talk and invited her over for Christmas latterly, but Portia allowed. She demanded to be alone. Rather, Isaiah Gannon came to support Portia and walked out of the sanitarium with her while holding hands. At Curtis Ashford's place, he got some support from Marshall Ashford now that they knew about Portia's affair and the maternity riddle. Stella Henry was there to complain about Portia's conduct as well. Kai Taylor and Trina Robinson also came to the vacation gathering before Jordan Ashford showed up at the door. Trina revealed that she'd invited Jordan and eventually apologized for how she treated her ahead. As the show wrapped up with a Christmas Eve montage, Trina sang Silent Night while accompanied by Marshall on the clarinet. It began like a whisper crossing a quiet sanctuary, like that breath of silence that always arrives before a baptism begins, the moment where the world seems to hold still, waiting for revelation. In that space, where hearts tremble and expectations hang heavy like mist, Maurice Benard stepped forward, a man whose voice has carried generations of pain, passion, and power across television screens. The quiet around him felt ceremonial, like water waiting to touch a forehead, like a soul about to be plunged beneath surface and reborn. But the moment he shared what he had to say, the world, fans, castmates, Port Charles faithful, would never again be the same. Fans had grown accustomed to surprises, shock twists, dramatic exits, scandalous returns, but this revelation carried a different kind of weight. It wasn't just rumor. It wasn't speculation. It felt like truth carved from the center of a beating heart. Maurice's voice held steady, but behind his eyes lived memories, battles, victories, fears, and the courage that once saved him. When he spoke, it felt like someone pouring water over a crowd to cleanse them, preparing them for news that could shake their souls. He wasn't only speaking for himself, he was speaking as a man who had lived darkness, survived it, and now stood as a testament to truth. Before he delivered what would stun his community, his tone softened, almost father-like. Offering encouraging words to anyone listening, like someone whispering to a crowd preparing to step into painful water and come out reborn. Whatever you're going through, he might have said, you're not alone. You can keep going. Don't give up. The way he spoke, heavy yet warm, was not acting, it was the trembling reality of a human being who once believed he wouldn't make it out alive. Fans could almost feel his hand on their shoulder, offering a lifeline. But beyond those encouraging whispers came something deeper, a tremor before a storm. When Maurice Benard finally released the news, it fell like a stone into a silent room, rippling shock in every direction. Fans gasped. Comment sections erupted. Hearts cracked open. It wasn't small. It wasn't expected. It wasn't something that could be shrugged off with a casual scroll or a sip of morning coffee. It was the kind of revelation that makes hands tremble, that leaves minds racing, that forces people to sit back in their chairs as though they must steady themselves from falling. He explained what had been happening behind the scenes, how something had shifted, how change was coming, how the storyline and his character might never be the same. Some felt like they were being baptized into a new reality, forced beneath the surface of shock into cold waters of disbelief. Others clung to hope, whispering words of encouragement among themselves. Maybe this means a new chapter, maybe this isn't an ending, maybe there is more to come. But beneath the tears and confusion, a darker current began to move. Anger. Fear. Protective rage. Fans who adored him, who saw in him more than a character, who saw a hero, a symbol, a survivor, felt something inside ignite. It wasn't passive sadness. It was fury, brewing like a storm. 1,000 social media users sharpened their words into digital daggers, ready to throw at anyone responsible if this news meant pain. Threats weren't whispered, they were typed in bold, capital letters. If they let him go, we're done, we will stop watching, do not destroy what he built. Maurice knew reactions would be enormous. He knew people would either cling to him even harder or lash out like lions protecting a wounded leader. But he continued anyway, because truth must be spoken, because authenticity is a baptism of its own. He shared what it cost him: sleepless nights, nervous trembling, pressure that never ends. He shared that sometimes a role, even one you love, feels like an iron chain. And sometimes, to be reborn, you must first break. As comments rose like roaring waves on a digital sea, encouraging messages mixed with threats that burned like torches. One fan wrote something akin to a vow: whatever you decide, we will follow you. We stand behind you. Another typed rage: if ABC forces something on you, they will hear from us. In that chaotic storm, Maurice remained steady, like someone holding a child's head gently beneath water during baptism, whispering, "You will come up new." Port Charles, fictional but breathing in the hearts of millions, felt the tremors. If Maurice's news meant sunny Corinthos could change, disappear, fall, or rise, then everything could shift. People whispered in digital hallways, if Sunny falls, the world falls. Maurice knew that weight, he felt it constantly, the burden of beloved storytelling fused with real-world expectations. He emphasized, softly but clearly, that people must remember he is human. That pain is real. That family matters. That mental health is not a storyline, but a battlefield. His encouraging tones became a soft anthem, reminding fans that no one is invincible, not even icons. You are allowed to struggle, he seemed to say. Because even I have fallen. But then, the anger returned. Not from him, but from the world watching. They wanted someone to blame. They wanted to storm the gates of corporate offices. They wanted to protect the man who once saved them simply by being brave enough to speak openly of his own fight. And some comments turned from loyalty to threat: if anyone pushed him, they will pay, we want names, we want answers. Social media became a battlefield. Encouragers on one side, warriors of empathy. Threat throwers on the other, burning with protective rage. And through the center walked Maurice, quiet, strong, human. He explained that life is unpredictable. That sometimes endings look like conclusions but may actually be chapter openers. He encouraged everyone listening to choose hope, even if their hearts felt bruised. Don't let fear write your life, he likely said, don't let loss stop you from rising. You can keep going. You must. His words carried a biblical tone, not in religion, but in spiritual conviction. A baptism of souls ready to be remade. Time passed, and reactions spread. Fans cried privately in bedrooms lit only by phone screens. Others clenched jaws in anger, whispering threats to no one, as though anger could shield him. Meanwhile, across living rooms where families gathered, older generations paused their shows, remembering decades of sunny Corinthos and Maurice Benard, and whispered prayers that whatever was coming would not break him. Inside Maurice's own mind, perhaps, a war waged, fear of change versus hunger for peace. He might have remembered the moments where he almost surrendered to darkness, and knew that sometimes stepping back is not weakness, but survival. Encouraging himself the same way he encouraged others, whispering, you survived. You built. You overcame. You will rise again. And though he stood alone when sharing his news, he was not truly alone. Millions held him in emotional arms, some gentle, some fierce. A baptism is not only for the one submerged, it is also for the community that witnesses. And this news, this shocking revelation that fans swore they were not ready for, became baptism for the fandom. A cleansing of assumptions. A washing of expectations. A rebirth into uncertainty. But uncertainty breeds defense. And defense breeds vow-like promises. Fans were not finished. They did not merely react, they declared war. In the shadows of comments, threats simmered. If they ruin him, we will ruin them, someone wrote. Another swore, we will not let this happen quietly. It felt medieval, like armies gathering. Maurice, however, preached softly through screens, urging calm, urging grace, urging strength. His encouraging tone rolled like soft waves against a cliff made of rage. Life is long, he reminded. Stories continue. People grow. Don't lose yourselves in fear. Instead, use it to become stronger. His supporters turned those words inward. People struggling privately, depression, grief, anxiety, felt like he had poured warm water over their souls, like a baptism not of shock but of healing. They whispered to themselves words that seemed borrowed from his strength. I can continue. I can stand. I can breathe. Eventually, the chaos settled, not gone, but quieted, like water after a stone sinks. Fans realized, whether this was goodbye, transformation, or simply a new path, Maurice had earned the right to choose. They began to shift from angry threats to solemn promises. Where you go, we will go. We won't abandon you. Encouragement became collective prayer. Maurice stood in the center, both burdened and loved. He exhaled, the final act of baptism. Breath is rebirth, the moment someone emerges from water-drenched but alive. And when the news fully reached its final echo, when every fan in disbelief finally processed reality, a new stillness washed across the community. The disbelief didn't vanish, but acceptance began slowly forming. Encouraging messages lingered longest. Thank you for honesty, thank you for fighting, thank you for being human. Yet deep beneath those words, like embers that refused to die, lived a vow. If he was hurt, pressured, or cornered, there would be consequences. Fans whispered in tones sharp enough to cut, we won't forget. We are watching. No one takes him from us without a fight. This is what happens when a legend speaks truth: baptism, encouragement, rage, disbelief, loyalty. It becomes a moment carved in collective history. Maurice Benard did not merely announce news. He cracked open a universe. And the world, shocked, baptized, furious, hopeful, waits now for what will happen next.